Hey, podcast fans, I just created a survey for my show and would really love your feedback so that I can continue to improve your listening experience. As an incentive, you'll be entered to win one of 3 prizes: a 1-month membership to Fuel for Life Crew and one of 2 of my Fueling sticker packs, all for taking less than 5 minutes to fill out my form. Winners will be chosen on May 7th. Head to my show notes to grab the link. Welcome to the Eat for Endurance podcast, where we explore the connection between nutrition, performance, and health for busy, active people. I'm Claire Shorenstein, a sports dietitian and endurance athlete, and in every episode, I share evidence-based guidance, inspiring athlete stories, and practical tips on a wide variety of nutrition topics so that you can feel better, crush your endurance goals, and thrive as a human being. Today, I'm chatting with Jenny Maxwell, a fascinating woman who co-founded PowerBar back in 1985 with her husband while still in college, and who also created JAMBAR in 2021. She's a longtime competitive athlete, running her first marathon at the young age of 13. She has 6 children, plays the drums with 2 Bay Area bands, and is an active philanthropist. Jenny and I chat about how she became interested in food science and nutrition at such a young age, how she and her husband created the original energy bar that launched the global sports nutrition bar category, how she handled feeding and caring for 6 children while juggling her own professional and athletic responsibilities and goals, especially after her husband's sudden death in 2004, why she learned to play the drums, why she went back into the bar business, and so much more. Before we dive in, I have a super quick ask. If this show has ever helped you with your fueling, or if an athlete story has entertained or inspired you, can you please take a minute to show your support for my podcast? You can give me a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen. You can share an episode you love or on social media or with a friend. You can buy my fueling stickers or use my affiliate codes on the shop page of eatforendurance.com, or throw a few bucks my way via my Patreon page, which you can find in my show notes. I put countless hours of my time into creating this free content every other week and pay for an editor to improve your listening experience. I have loved doing this podcast, and I want to keep it going for as long as possible. Your support really makes a difference. Thank you so much. All right, here's my athlete nutrition profile with Jenny Maxwell. Jenny, welcome to the Eat for Endurance podcast. How's everything going today?
Well, fine. Thanks, Claire. It's good to be with you today.
Yeah, well, I like to start these interviews by digging into your nutrition roots. So hearing a little bit about growing up and kind of mostly what you remember about food and meal times.
Okay, nice. I grew up in the 60s, born in 1965, so 60s and 70s. I grew up in a little beach town called Bolinas. So I grew up kind of a hippie. So, all right, let's see. I grew up, pretty basic, pretty simple, right? We didn't have a lot of money and very little. So, our food decisions were very basic. I guess the biggest things, I really didn't eat a lot of meat growing up just because we didn't really afford it, and had a vegetable garden. And so had a lot of vegetables and time outside, and, mealtime was, very family oriented. And I think that's actually what spurred my interest in food science and nutrition, is just that sort of basic roots of basic foods.
Yeah. And you started running when you were quite young. And I read that you ran your first marathon at 13, which is like,
I did.
Wow.
I started running when I was 13. My mom was a big runner, and I just wanted to join her. And like growing up in the countryside, there was a lot of access to nature and trails. And so I just thought, well, I'll give it a try. I was pretty good at it right away. I was, pretty little, so it was probably easier, and just excelled at it. And so my mom's friend had an entry to a marathon that he wasn't using. So I thought, well, I'll just give it a go. And I actually ran 3 hours and 25 minutes as a little girl.
Impressive. Wait, and that was your first year of running?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I'd been running for 9 months. I know.
Wow.
I know.
Do you remember, did you eat anything or drink anything?
Probably not.
I know it was back in the time when no one was doing anything. But I was just curious if you had any memories about that.
I ate breakfast, probably some cereal or something. But no, the sports nutrition at that time, this would have been 1978, wasn't very evolved. And so, people avoided eating because they didn't want to have an upset stomach, and, maybe you'd eat some toast or some cereal, something like that. But there really wasn't an emphasis on performance enhancement. No.
Yeah. But you did track and kind of cross country all through high school, and
so
I'm curious, and you were interested in food and nutrition and all of that. So I'm kind of curious, Because most people I talk to when we're talking about kind of these early phases in life, they're not really making that connection between nutrition and performance and all of those things. And I'm curious if you started to make that connection early on, or how you were kind of thinking about food at that time.
Yeah, I definitely did. Again, because I was interested in how things grew and just cooking. I've always been interested in cooking. Even from a young child, I was really interested in cooking, all kinds of different things. So I think my interest in running at a young age, as you said, I did go on to run in high school and college. Got away from running the marathon. I think that was, I actually did one other marathon when I was 15. I ran 3 hours and 13 minutes. But
wow.
It was just too far. I kind of got away from that as I got into high school and would rather do some other things as well. But I did compete more in the shorter distances. But I think just optimizing my performance and optimizing my health as a young child. And so it was really more kind of health, but also just more like the food science component was really, really intriguing to me, of how foods were combined to get to different types of recipes and different types of creations. I was just really into creating, cool things to eat from a really young age.
And how did that fit into kind of like your family life? Like, I don't know how many siblings you had, or if you were normally the one cooking, or your parents were cooking. Or
I was the one cooking most of the time. I took over the kitchen from
okay.
my mom. She jokes about it. Yeah, I do the grocery shopping.
Lucky mom.
That domestic side of me was really instilled really young, right? Because I do have 6 kids. And so I was into cooking and grocery shopping and doing that kind of stuff at a pretty young age. Yeah.
Yeah. Were some of your choices and kind of what you were doing, was that evolving as you became more of a competitive athlete? Did any of that change?
I think as I became more competitive. So in college, I met my late husband, really young. Right? I was only, I was about 19 or 20, pretty young. Mm-hmm. So the PowerBar project started pretty early. I was still in school, nutrition and food science major at Cal. And so again, I was following my inspiration of what I like to do, which is create and focus on, how are these creations going to potentially help my performance. Brian was an Olympic marathon runner, so it was much more beyond me. Cool. He was a higher level runner. So that's how the PowerBar project began, is that he had come up with a concept, and then we met and I finalized the PowerBar formula, and we started the company together from our little apartment from basically nothing.
Well, I mean, it really was PowerBar was such a formative part of the whole sports nutrition landscape. And it really kind of launched the whole idea of a bar, an energy bar. And there really wasn't that much around at that time. And how did that come to be, where you're like, we're going to create this product? Walk us through that a little bit.
It was from his need as an Olympic marathon runner. He was, ran for Canada in 1980, boycott, of course, but he's a high level Olympic runner. And he always had this problem of, what do I eat before training and racing, primarily racing, so I don't run out of energy, yet don't get an upset stomach. So there's that component. There's also, how do I optimize how I fuel my body? And the science was just emerging, right? So the branched chain amino acids, utilizing energy was just emerging. I worked in George Brooks's lab in UC Berkeley, talking about lactic acid threshold. So personal experience, some research, talking to a lot of athletes. So all of this was sort of emerging in the mid 80s when we started PowerBar, and there really wasn't anything. There was no athletic energy bar. There was really no energy bar. There was maybe Tiger's Milk or Pemmican, things like that. So we created an industry. And at that time, sports nutrition was just really in its infancy. So the low fat, there was a low fat craze at that time. So PowerBar was, of course, very, really no added fat. People didn't want to eat fat, upset your stomach, which there's some truth to it, but people adapt. Like I mentioned, the branched chain amino acids was an important component of the original PowerBar, which got phased out. The ratio of complex to simple carbs, the protein, all of that basic macronutrient science was evolving, and PowerBar was cutting edge at that time for sure.
I mean, I remember, I'm younger than you, but I remember being in high school cross crunchy, which was in the 90s, right? And just seeing PowerBar all over the place, and everyone's eating on the bus. And I have very clear memories of PowerBar, and that was the bar that people were reaching for. I just find it so fascinating because you're young, you're still in college, you're creating this very kind of groundbreaking business. Obviously at some point you start to grow a family after college. I mean, there's just so much going on. And I don't know if you want to share any stories, if there are any funny stories or interesting memories or things you want to share about that kind of really early time in your life of being an entrepreneur, of being in kind of food science at that time, that might be interesting?
Oh, there's so many stories because life was different, right?
Yeah.
I think there were no computers, no cell phones. So right then and there, that defines how we place our mindset and what we spend our time thinking about. You don't have this thing sitting on your side, which is a cell phone. You don't have a computer telling you to go answer your emails. So you have a lot more time on your hands to daydream, to think about, what do I want to do? What do I want to create? How do I want to communicate with people around me? And that really creates a different dynamic in terms of buying, or, building a business. So that made it a lot easier, actually.
No social media strategy at the figure.
The honest truth is, life was easier in the 80s in a lot of respects, but I digress. We had more of a simplicity to our approach. We started as a mail order business. So we would, go to races and have a little cutout thing at the bottom of a flyer explaining what PowerBar was, put it on the car windshield. We'd go to Bonneville 10Ks or whatever you have in the city. And we would get orders in the mail, and we would get dozens and dozens every day. And so I would go to the little mailbox, pick up those orders. Usually they would have a credit card number on the order. We put it in. We'd have a basic MS-DOS computer program. A lot of times they would enclose a check with their order, most of the times. And those was your method of payment. And we just were direct to consumer from our little apartment. And then we got into the retail, got into bike stores first, and then some running stores. And then we actually had accounts that don't exist so much anymore calling us to carry PowerBar. And so we grew very, very rapidly. But the simplicity of it was just mind-boggling now, right? I mean, it just doesn't work that way now, right? There's so many hurdles and things to do right now. People, don't act the same. So it was really thrilling to see how fast we grew. Yeah, which has its own challenges, right? When you're growing that fast, you have your own challenges. But how'd
you keep up with, were you actually making it? At some point, I imagine you had to kind of bring production to some other place. You're not making it out of your apartment anymore, right?
So we co-packed in the beginning. So we had to go to the co-packer and explain how to make this product, because it was a cold extrusion. It wasn't enrobed. Like a typical candy bar or energy bar, or something like a Tiger's Milk, which I explained was on the market, had a chocolate enrobing on the outside so that it would go through the equipment without sticking to the wrapper. And PowerBar was a new technology in that we didn't have an enrobing on the outside. So the original PowerBar was actually dusted with a powdered brown rice flour to get it to not stick to the outside of the wrapper. This would have been in the very beginning, 87, 88, in those years. And then we realized we don't have to do that anymore. But we co-packed the first couple of years and then actually developed our own production facility. We revamped existing equipment. Everything was very low budget in the beginning, and then we sophisticated as we got larger and got a pretty big business going.
And through all this time, are you still competing as a runner? Through all college, after college, what was your kind of life as an athlete like during this time?
Yes, we started the business and incorporated in 1985. We started selling PowerBars in 1987. I graduated UC Berkeley in 1988. Got married in 1988, had our first child in 1989. So we were
so much going on.
We were kind of insane. What's wrong with you? No, but as I said, easier. Yeah, grew from 1987 to through the 90s, and growing our family at the same time. So
yeah, and that's maybe a good place to veer off for a minute, the whole, the family life, because you have a big family. You have 6 children.
Yeah.
They were crazy close together, but somewhat close together, I guess. And I was telling offline, I feel like, I have 2 kids. The what's for dinner struggle is so real every day. And with 6 kids, 6 different personalities, that just must be so challenging. So I'd love to hear a little bit about, I have lots of questions about family life, but first, just kind of how you approached feeding your family. And I know that those over a large span of time and things changed. And especially once your husband passed away, that must have been really difficult. But maybe just anything you kind of want to speak to there that might be helpful for listeners, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Anything you can share.
We always made a priority to eat dinner together. Breakfast, the kids ate breakfast. Usually it was pretty simple. Either I'd make pancakes with a variety of, I'd mix protein pancakes and fruit. And then they'd have a lunch in their lunchbox, pretty healthy. And then dinners, keep it pretty basic just so that I'm not making different meals for different kids, and there really wasn't too much of a choice. It's like, you can have this or that, and a lot of stir fries, a lot of quesadillas. And I try to center around really healthy stuff. So a lot of vegetables, primarily get my kids eating vegetables young. That was something that was important to me. I've been pretty much a vegetarian my whole life. Not strict, but I've never really eaten meat just because I didn't grow up eating it, and I don't really like the way it tastes. But always eggs and some fish, and then I would eat some chicken and, for the kids. But I would also make hamburgers for the kids. So I wasn't like super strict, but a lot of vegetables. Didn't really have dessert. We didn't really have a lot of treats in the house. Occasionally, I'm always big on making a big birthday cake for their birthdays. Again, I wasn't totally restrictive, because I think when you're really restrictive with kids, it makes it more appealing. So I try to build more like balance and education around their decisions about what they're going to eat in the home. And then when they go out with their friends and stuff, just so they understand, like, okay, this is good for me and this is less good for me. So if I'm not going to eat something that's good for me, maybe I don't eat as much of it, that kind of thing. Just that balance approach, I think, to nutrition.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any children who were like very selective eaters or would kind of refuse to eat certain things?
Yeah, again, I try to make it not a battle, right? You want them to, and they will self-regulate if given the opportunity, right? And so you want to create that opportunity where the kid self-regulates. If you're offering healthy things, they'll gravitate towards that typically. But I've had a couple of my kids who were more picky, where they wouldn't want to eat certain parts of a meal. So, for instance, an example would be, I'm going to make a stir fry, and I'm going to include chicken and tofu in the stir fry, so that if you don't want to eat the tofu, then you can eat the chicken with the vegetables. But if you don't want, right? So if you don't want to eat the chicken, you can eat the tofu. So that's kind of like two different choices incorporated into the same.
Yeah.
I try to avoid not having picky eaters, but they kind of go through phases too, right? So I try not to label them a certain way, but because they do go through phases.
Yeah. I mean, how did you balance, like, again, here you are growing this business, having this family, and you're still an athlete. And I'm assuming that your athletic life was still important to you, but you have all these responsibilities, all these various goals and such. Like, how did you kind of juggle all of that as a working parent?
I think in the beginning, I had my first child when I was 24, so I was pretty young. I was still competing at that time, so Brian and I had to, one of us would watch the kids, the other one of us would go out and train. I still had track workouts and things like that for a few years. I probably maybe until I was in my early 30s, and then it became too difficult to combine training and workouts, with being a mom. It was just physically too hard, and just emotionally, I'd rather not be thinking about that part of my life anymore. I've been there, done that. So
what were you competing in?
I ran USTA, like cross country races. So that's kind of what people would do after, college, and be pretty competitive on the circuit. You would have a whole cross country season. Only 5K, 5 or 6K. So it wasn't that far. So it didn't require that much training, but you did have to get the track workouts in and go to the races and that kind of thing for 3 or 4 months out of the year. Yeah. So that's where cross country was my preferred race for sure. And then there'd be some local races, whether it was the Dipsy, double Dipsy, a 10K here or there, you can always find a race to do.
Oh, that's right. You're close to Mount Tam, right? That's
right.
Yeah. Yep. I did a Mount Tam 50K. That was gorgeous and hard.
Yeah. Very hilly.
So beautiful.
Very hilly.
Very hilly. Yes. Lots of work. It was fun though. So pretty. Okay. Got it. So you kind of phased out that training and did something else replace it? Like, were you still staying active or?
I always ran. No, I just stopped racing. When Brian passed away, I always was running. Running is really core to who I am. But when Brian passed away in 2004, so our sixth child was only like 8 months old, desire to race just totally went away. Like desire to really push myself, I think just was done, which I think, that's fine. I've been pushing myself long enough. That was fine. But running has always been central. But I mix it up, as I've gotten older, I mix it up with running less distance, running more with how I feel at a certain time. I also swim quite a bit. So combining it with swimming has been really, really restorative for me. And then as I got older, also just running with walk breaks has been very helpful in terms of being able to really enjoy what you do. Just take walk breaks.
Yeah, I want to talk about kind of dealing with grief, if that's okay with you, kind of how you
Sure.
process that and as part of your becoming a musician. Because
Yeah.
I feel like I almost had the opposite experience too, because I grew up as a musician, classical musician. So I played piano and oboe at a very high level through grad school. And then I kind of stopped very suddenly and found running. And that was like my
Wow, that is so cool.
and
The opposite.
running both can be so therapeutic and music still is a part of my life, but not the same
Yeah.
way. And you're like very much the opposite. So I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, I'd love to kind of hear a little bit about music for you and how that kind of came about, especially like the drums
Yeah.
specifically. That's like it's not like random, but it's like, oh, why the drums? What drew you to that? And
Yeah.
I don't know, just love to hear a little bit about that and kind of
Okay.
how that helped you kind of move through grief.
Yeah, definitely. So, as I mentioned, when Brian passed away in 2004, he was actually running at the time, he was born with a congenital heart defect. And so that heart defect was under watch. He was managing it, but it just, you can't always foresee everything. And he was out on a run and collapsed, and then his heart would restart. So
sorry.
that's actually how he passed away. So it was a lot of grief, right? It was immediate. It wasn't like there was a particular warning or, you can prepare. You can't really prepare for something like that. So it was really, really traumatizing for me and the kids, of course. My oldest was just turning 14. So really tough for the two oldest teenage boys, really, really tough. Then, of course, the two younger. So I had two babies and two teenagers, the worst possible combination.
Yeah.
And I think the music component, I had always been interested in music because I played a little piano as a child and actually played the flute in grade school, but found music as an outlet to go to musical events, to listen to music, to go watch a lot of live music. And so I think I was drawn to the drums for the athletic component of it because there's a lot of four-limb independence.
Yeah.
So the athletic component of it, the cadence, the continuity of it, your heartbeat, the drumming, it just seemed very well aligned with running. So I started in 2007 playing the drums, and now I'm in two bands, and I would say, I have way more than 10,000 hours. So I played a lot in the first 10 years. I played a lot. As you get better, you don't have to play quite as much. Because I really prefer jazz over everything because of the difficulty of it. And there you really do have a lot of four-limb independence. And you also have
I listened to Good Karma. I love it. There's a little clip on your JAMBAR website, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. I love it. It's the opposite of the type of music I ever play, because as a classical musician, you play what's on the page. You play exactly what's on the page, and you can interpret what's on the page. But I mean, tell me to improv something, forget it. I'm like a deer in headlights. I'm just like,
But it's mostly improvisation, although you're following the form.
It's mostly it's very liberating. It's very, so again, I can see how it's such this like creative outlet and just a place to kind of put all that, stuff you're dealing with. So
and awesome. The challenge, it's challenging to learn a new skill when you're almost, it's really challenging. And so I think that I needed that outlet, right? I had the kids, I had the family, I had to get through the grief, which took up, many, many, many years. But this challenge of learning an instrument and learning how to read music and just being able to get your technical skill to the ability that you could express yourself in the drums and then play with other musicians was very rewarding and gratifying.
What did your kids think about you playing the drums?
My kids, they thought it was cool, right? They thought it was really cool.
Were they learning any instruments at the time as well?
My youngest played the cello. Mm-hmm. They did take some drum lessons, but none of them really gravitated towards it. They all took piano, but my youngest played the cello until he learned to drive. And then that was about it. Yeah.
And they're like, bye. I don't know about you, but like I find as a mother, sometimes when my girls are learning, like this is how I personally got into swimming, for instance. I could never really swim very much and I didn't like swimming, but my girls were learning to swim and I was like, and they were having a hard time. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to swim. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so hard. And it just gave me a lot of appreciation for how hard it is to learn something, and especially when you are older. But like, it kind of put me right there with them. And now I go swim laps, and it's really awesome. And it took me a long time, but I think it's very inspiring sometimes to watch your kids learn stuff, and it gets you kind of interested in things. And or kind of looking back at like, oh yeah, I used to do these things as a kid. And then for some reason I stopped and I'm, maybe I would like that again. So I don't know. I love the idea of not ever feeling like it's too late to learn something new and to also try all these different things and to have different outlets. And as much as you might identify as a runner and like you can still do that, like you can also find all these different things to do that are different passions and hobbies and whatnot. So I thought that was really cool to hear, to read about you. And I was looking into your drumming life.
Thank you. Yeah, I know it's never too late to learn new things, and you can decide how much you want to just delve into it. But for me, music is a huge part of my life. But
are you like getting really sweaty? Like when you're saying it's athletic, like, are you like hydrating and fueling? Like when you say it's super athletic, talk to me about, because I know like gigs can last a while. Like how are you kind of thinking about nutrition relative to an athletic, it's not a sport, but this endeavor?
Yeah, no. So the only part of playing drums would be if you go to a gig and you have to prepare, I have to load my entire kit into my car, which is heavy, up and down stairs, and then drive to
strength training.
Unload. That's right. Unload the kit, set up the kit. Right. So that part of it. But when you're actually playing, I'm actually totally relaxed. Right. It's not tense at all, because when you're in the moment of the music, your mind and your body have to be relaxed, because if you're tense, you don't play particularly well. But the actual preparation and loading the kit and the time, I mean, the whole event could take 5 or 6 hours, and sometimes you don't have time to eat a meal. So that's where the JAMBAR would be very beneficial. Yeah.
Are you able to kind of cram a bar in during that time if you have like 5 or 6 hour window? Okay.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And water.
So let's talk about JAMBAR. So JAMBAR basically was your delving back into the bar world where everything had changed so much decades later. Yeah, I'm curious kind of what brought you back into that whole world, and like, was it so that you could have something to eat while you were playing, or like what kind of inspired you to get back into it?
Yes, perfect thought. Yeah. I always liked energy bars, right? That was why PowerBar was created. I love to create. I love to create food products. And like you said, I was out of it for a while there, dealing with Brian's with the loss of Brian and raising my family. And so the JAMBAR concept really started around the kitchen table with my daughter. And I have 5 boys and 1 girl. She's pretty high level runner as well. And we're looking at just what's available for energy bars. And there really wasn't anything I felt that good about eating that I really wanted to eat. I wanted to eat organic. There still are very few organic options out there. So having organic nutrition is important to me, where it, as often as possible. Wanted to eat organic, wanted to eat something that tasted good. And I just saw a big hole in the market of energy bars. Even though there's so many of them, a lot of them don't taste very good and not organic, and just not ingredients that I wanted to eat. So I thought with my experience and my knowledge, I could create something better. So that would have been 2016. Worked on the formula for JAMBAR for about 4 years. Business plan. What am I going to do with this? Once I had the formula the way I wanted, I had to get the name, had to figure out how we're going to make it, all that good stuff. And but it was really because I saw a need in the marketplace. It was already saturated, but not with the kind of product that I wanted to eat, not with something super premium.
What's in it? Can you just give people a little glimpse?
Yeah, so JAMBAR, organic, 100% organic. We have 5 flavors. 3 of them are plant-based protein from sunflower seed. 2 of them are whey-based protein. And the 2 that are whey-based protein are very similar to PowerBar. In that chocolate and malt nut are the flavors. Very similar to PowerBar. Oat bran base, first ingredient's oat bran. Then we've got the grains, we got gluten-free grains, the 10 grams of protein. We're using nut butters. The biggest difference, Claire, between JAMBAR and all the other bars is really the sweetener that we use. We don't use any what I call manufactured sweeteners, which would be your tapioca syrup, tapioca solids, tapioca fiber. It's all sugar. It's all tapioca, which is not really sugar. Brown rice syrup, which is converted starch, not really sugar. Then you go into downhill from there into your stevias, your allulose, your erythritol. All of these things that are not really inherently existing in nature. They're sugar composites. They're, manufactured sugars. So JAMBAR used maple syrup, and then we use sugar from grapes. It's 100% grape juice, and then date and honey, depending on the flavor. So that was really important to me. And that took a lot of food science knowledge to be able to do that. So we've got, everything in a JAMBAR you can eat off a spoon, right? So no flavorings. We use extracts. Real nut butter, super high quality. Grains, super high quality. The protein, like I said, it's either sunflower seed protein and or whey-based protein, super high quality. So we got peanut butter, malt nut, chocolate, and then we've got a jazzleberry, which is a combination of raspberry, strawberry, blueberry, and blackberry. And then we've got mango. And then
that's the one I like. That's my favorite. I heard of it from a client, actually. I'd never heard of your bar. This is a while. This is ages ago. And they were like JAMBAR, and I'm like, oh, what's this? And I looked it up, and I think by chance someone on your team reached out, wanted to send samples, and I'm like, oh, I tried this one. And
okay. So you have the most recent one is Tropical Trio, which is the banana pineapple.
Oh,
coconut.
Cool.
Yeah. So real chunks of fruit, lots of grains.
Is the fiber content kind of higher on that one? Do you know how much fiber's in there?
On which one?
Like generally in your bars, yeah, goes the bran and all the fruit and stuff.
3 or 4 grams, so it's higher than most.
So it's not
because of the grains.
It's not super high.
It's medium high, yeah. And the fat content is again sort of that medium level of 4 to 5, 6 grams of fat. So it's not high in fat. It's not no fat either. So I think the balance of macros, having the simple to complex carbs, a good amount of protein, a good amount of fiber, so that you're slowing down that digestion of it, is really what makes it a superior athletic energy bar. And
so like when you think about this bar in terms of its purpose and when to use it, like when are you envisioning people using it? Like in what types of contexts?
Pre-event, pre-training would be the primary use, because you want to get something in your system that's going to sustain you through a training event or a race. So the hour to 2 hours before, 3 hours before, depending on how you like to fuel your body, and if you're going to eat anything else. So pre-event, some people eat a JAMBAR instead of gels and chews. And that type of thing. Okay. It depends. It depends on how fast you're running, right?
Yeah, I was going to say running, maybe not. Or maybe hiking, right? Or
a lot of people doing these ultra events are not running.
Sure.
They're doing a lot of walking, running.
Yeah.
Taking their time, enjoying the event. They're not super intense. So if that's the situation for majority of the runners, eating something can be very satisfying. And a JAMBAR is going to taste a lot better than a gel or a chew. So and a chew, you're still chewing with a chew, but you're not getting all the nutrition that you would get eating a JAMBAR. So during event can work depending on the person. And then of course after is perfect because it's very satiating and delicious. So, really anytime.
Yeah, out and about.
Out and about, as you could put a JAMBAR. It doesn't melt, which is great. You can put it in your purse, in your gig
Keep
bag.
In your car. Yeah.
You can leave it in your car. I mean, it'll heat up, but it doesn't melt because it doesn't have a coating. Yeah, it doesn't freeze, doesn't crumble. So it's very easy to travel in that respect.
Hey everyone, one quick thing before we continue. If fueling feels confusing, overwhelming, or just harder than you expected, I created Eat for Endurance to give athletes realistic, evidence-based support without all the noise. I have free downloads, low-cost guides and masterclasses, a monthly membership where you can ask me your nutrition questions for just $39 a month, and I have limited one-to-one coaching spots for athletes who want deeper, individualized support. You can explore everything over at eatforendurance.com, including all of my athlete testimonials. All right, let's get back to the episode. So you've created these kind of 2 bars, and we kind of skipped over the fact that PowerBar was sold to Nestle back in 2000, right? So like as of now, you have nothing to do with the PowerBar brand, I assume, right? Or do you still have connections to that? Because they have like gels, they have all kinds of things now with power or something.
No, so it's all through different ownerships and everything. No, it went in a different direction. JAMBAR is a much more sort of holistic, more organic, natural, real food energy bar, and that's a different direction from where PowerBar went.
Do you kind of envision yourself creating anything else? Or are you kind of really happy with like the bar category? Like, have you been kind of playing around your kitchen? Like, is this something much like drumming or other creative outlets where you're like, what am I going to create next? Or is it kind of like JAMBAR's enough?
I mean, we have a new product in that we have a mini jam, so it's a half the size. So that would be our new product that we're launching this year. And the usage occasion for a mini jam would be a little bit different than a regular full size bar. So the full size bar is 60 grams. So if you're on the trail, you may not want to take a 60-gram bar. You may want to take a mini jam, and that will fit in any pouch and shorts and top and things like that. So that would be easier to carry if you didn't want to carry a whole bar. So a mini jam, it's 30 grams. So that's a new product. I mean, JAMBAR is targeted for athletes. It is an athletic energy bar, but also people that are not athletes get a lot of benefit out of eating it, since it is a whole food, real food, healthier option in the energy bar section for sure.
So it sounds like no, JAMBAR is kind of, you're good with that. You're not creating other.
I'm going to make it like the jam gel.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, do you view, because like you were talking about when you were younger, how you love to experiment and create recipes and stuff like that, right? And then of course, as you're a mom to 6, like cooking probably becomes a little bit more practical, right? You're kind of just trying to feed everybody. And then now that your kids are all grown, you have grandkids, and you have this business. It's like, have you returned to the kitchen? And it doesn't even have to be product or athletic oriented. Maybe it's just for yourself. Do you find yourself kind of back in the kitchen creating things, or is food kind of more of this practical, more like thing for you? I don't know. That's kind of, maybe that's what I want to know.
I'm still cooking a lot, even though my kids are not in the house. I'm still cooking a lot. I still like to think about new flavors of JAMBAR. That's something I'm always working on.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. And yeah, and what is your kind of athletic life looking like these days? How do you enjoy movement? And so it sounds like competition isn't something you're really doing so much, but it's more performance through your bands. But how are you enjoying movement at this point in your life?
I think still keeping, being really athletic front and center. So running still, but mixing it up with swimming and hiking. So it's not that much different. I would say pretty simple, probably more swimming than in the past. Distances maybe a little bit shorter, pretty similar that way. You can talk a little bit about, how my diet has changed a little bit also.
That was my next question.
I would say, again, real food, simple, real food has always been my mantra. I think nutrition comes in waves. You'll have fads that come and go. And what my mantra and suggestion and belief has always been a variety of foods is what's really important. Keep as much variety in your diet as you can.
Yeah, I love that. And that's pretty much what I recommend as well. It's like there's nothing that's really so much off limits, and it's just kind of, food isn't necessarily good and bad. It's just they offer different things. And as you were kind of pointing out earlier, it's like finding that balance, and something that maybe isn't as health promoting, but maybe if you enjoy it, it's just kind of watching how frequently or how much you're having of that. So it sounds like you're still following a mostly vegetarian diet. Do you feel like you have it pretty dialed? Are there still things that you find challenging in terms of like supporting health or all of the active things that you do, or you feel pretty good about it?
I mean, as I've gotten a little bit older, pay attention to aches and pains. I do consume a little bit more protein than I did when I was younger, primarily because I'm eating less food. So as you eat less food, you kind of focus more on, where do I need to pay attention so that I'm not deficient in certain macronutrients. So I pay a little more attention to protein, but I've always focused on varying the protein. So I do eat the tofu. I do eat nuts. I do eat eggs. I do eat a lot of dairy. And so I think it's pretty easy to get a good amount of protein. I don't worry about it. But again, I try to eat as much organic as I can. One of the interesting things I've done, and I don't even know why I started doing this, but I started making my own bone broth. So here I am as a vegetarian or semi-vegetarian. Like I don't sit down and eat steak. That would not appeal to me. I always say to eat what you like, right? And if you don't like that, then eat it. But I don't even know why I just got interested in bone broth. And so I did some research on it and went to the health food store, and you can buy, pasture raised bones, and whether it's chicken bones, fish bones, beef bones, and you can make your own bone broth really, really easily. It does take a lot of time, but you add your vegetables, add your vinegar to extract some of the nutrients out of the bones, but it's got a lot of beneficial properties for athletes for sure.
Do you enjoy the taste of it?
It tastes like chicken broth. Yeah, for the most part, and then I put a lot of onion in it. So onion, carrot, celery. It doesn't taste like meat. There's no meat in it. It's just broth, right? And you have to cook it for at least 24 hours. So you're extracting the collagen, you're extracting the glucosamine, chondroitin, some protein. It's got a lot of beneficial properties for everybody, really. And, human beings have been eating bone broth for thousands of years. So it's not like a new concept. It's just that it's
but it's very trendy. It's very trendy. I remember when I was living in New York City, I remember it was especially on a really cold winter day. It was attached to like a really nice restaurant, but it was just like this little window, this tiny little narrow little window just in between shops. And you could go up to there and they'd have like 3 huge things of bone broth. And one was like, beef ginger and like whatever. It was all these different bone broths. And you literally just get it in like a takeaway coffee mug and you just go on sipping your bone broth. And I normally wouldn't buy it because it costs a fortune, but I did buy it once and it was so delicious. And it was really nice because sometimes you do want something savory and it's giving you different things, but it's really hot, almost like you're getting a tea, but you're sipping bone broth walking down the street and it's like 20 degrees out. And so that's whenever I think of bone broth, I think of this little hole in the wall place that I used to get it.
You can drink it like that, like, in the winter, is a little cup. I drink half a cup at a time or something. But then you freeze it, right? Because it only lasts about 4 or 5 days. And you make it in a big stock pot. And so you freeze it. And then I use it if I'm making soups, if I'm making lentils, split peas. It's easy to use in all kinds of different recipes as well. But that's something new that I've been doing.
I used to save little scraps of vegetables, as I was cooking, because I was like, I'm going to make like a bone broth and I'm going to be really like, I'm going to use all the things. And then I'll like either stop saving them or I'll forget about it. I'm just like, I give up. It's too much. I can't deal with this right now in my life. Maybe when I'm a little older, I have a little more time in my hands. But I did, I think, make a vegetarian bone broth once and it was really delicious, but it took so much work. I just need to buy this. I just need to buy this right now. I mean, it's the same reason why you would reach for a bar. You're just like, I can't, this is what I just need to grab right now because I don't have the time or maybe my stomach or whatever, it's like you just got to reach for something sometimes. What's something that you're looking forward to this year that you either have planned or that you're hoping to plan?
Yeah. So, growing JAMBAR is something that's super, big part of my life. So I'm CEO and I do run the company here and it's a small company, but we are small but mighty. We are sold nationwide. So we make a lot of bars, but focusing on growing JAMBAR and continuing, a big part of JAMBAR is giving back to community.
Yes, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, we donate 50% of our after-tax profits to organizations that promote music and active living. So we're involved with, depending on the time of year, anywhere from 15 to 20 to 25 events a month, either with going to the event, helping out, promoting the event, giving them bars, sometimes dollars. Just, it's a huge part of the company. So, focusing on that with my team here, my marketing team is a lot of what I spend time on. Like I said, working on new flavors. I love doing that. But, we make our own bars. So our production facility is state of the art. So making sure that's running efficiently. But it's fun, JAMBAR is a great company.
Awesome. Well, we're going to wrap up with my quick bites questions. What is your favorite post run or swim meal or snack?
Besides JAMBAR?
Besides JAMBAR. I knew you were going to say that. I'm like, I should have added that.
Wow, that would depend on a lot of things. I don't know. I would say, I like to combine hot chocolate with coffee. So in the wintertime, a mocha.
I do that every morning.
It's going to be like either pre or post chocolate milk with a little coffee in it. That's delicious.
What has been your biggest cooking catastrophe if you've had one? Or maybe it's like a bar creation catastrophe. Maybe when you're experimenting.
Oh, let's see. Cooking catastrophe. Probably just letting something burn, cook too long. And if I'm roasting something in the oven and I just forget about it and it burns.
Have you ever created like a flavor of a bar and it was just disgusting?
No.
No. Yeah, hey, that's great. Or maybe it's just like maybe it's just not quite there. But that's great. That's good. What? How do you like your eggs cooked? I think you said you eat eggs.
I like eggs. Yes. Anyway, I do hard-boiled eggs, make egg salad. I like over easy egg on toast. Yeah. And a quiche, whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is the most exotic or interesting food that you've ever tried?
I think exotic to me, just because it's different from what I would eat, would be like raw sushi, going to a Japanese restaurant and some of fish eggs and different types of fish that I wouldn't normally eat that and prepared that way.
Yeah. Do you like that?
It depends. Some of the raw salmon sashimi can be tasty. It depends if it's not too fishy. Yeah, it's the way that they combine it. It's so fresh.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of interesting.
What is your favorite beverage?
Besides my hot chocolate with coffee, green tea with milk and honey.
What are your comfort foods?
I think one of them is a homemade banana bread.
Yummy. And this isn't a quick bites question, but I forgot to ask, do you still have a garden?
Oh, yes. Yes. In fact,
What's in your garden?
Well, right now I've got 2 different kinds of lettuce, red leaf, butter leaf, real lettuce, broccolini, 2 different kinds of parsley, basil, red peppers. I have a lot of fruit trees, blueberries.
Ooh.
The lettuce is the easiest one. Lettuce is pretty easy to grow. And you can just harvest it really easily and use it like daily. Parsley grows really easily, and parsley is, pretty healthy. But growing a vegetable garden is really, really rewarding.
Well, yeah. So I had one for like 4 years, and then we got all these like critters out of nowhere. I think we have like the bunnies somehow are getting in and like rats or something. And I had my winter garden and everything just got decimated. So it's so sad. So we're trying to figure out that before I put more effort into it. But I love going down and just like, picking up the lettuce and harvesting the beets and having the broccoli and all that stuff. And I swear I was growing this like beautiful purple cauliflower, and I was like going to pick it the next day. And then I show up and the whole thing was gone. It was just like beheaded. The critters just ate it.
You have garden thieves.
I have garden thieves. It's not fair. I mean, those bunnies are still cute, but I'm mad.
I've had to put some posts with like reflective tape to kind of scare birds away and things like that. But I've been pretty lucky. I don't think I have rabbits.
Yeah. No, we get a lot out here. Also, I had a blueberry bush that forever I tried, because I'm out right on the coast, and different things. Like I tried growing peppers. That was a fail. Watermelon was a fail. Blueberries did not do well, but like my tomatoes are great, and a lot of my greens, pumpkins, like all these other things were good, but because we get a lot of fog, and I don't know. It's really interesting how just like different little microclimates and areas of California are like, can harvest different things. But anywho, last 2 questions. What is your favorite ice cream flavor if you like ice cream?
2. I have vanilla and mocha almond fudge.
Yum. And last one, top 3 items of gear that are most essential to your active lifestyle.
Good shoes. For sure. All right. Good shoes, running shorts with a pocket, zipper pocket, running shorts with a zipper pocket. Hard to find sometimes, right?
Yeah, I know.
Put your key in there, and I don't want to lose the key on the trail. And a hat to keep the sun off my face.
Great. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Jenny, for your time today. It was so fun learning about you. Where can everyone find JAMBAR or learn more about you, your company, if they want to learn more?
Yeah, so the website, jambar.com, is got our whole website on there. Eat JAMBAR is the handle, Eat JAMBAR. And there's a lot of information on our website. We have a really interesting blog. Yeah, and then JAMBARs are sold on a website, on Amazon, at local health food and grocery stores, the Bay Area pretty readily.
Awesome.
We are across the country. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenny. Have a good one.
Thanks, Claire. Good to meet you.
That is our show for today. If you're enjoying the podcast, I'd love it if you could share it with a friend or on social media. And if you could please leave a 5-star rating and review that helps others discover my show. And of course, hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. If you'd like to support my free content, you can check out my affiliate codes on the shop page of eatfairendurance.com. You can also buy merch there. You can also visit my Patreon page. All of that is linked to in the show notes. And finally, I always love hearing from you, whether it's feedback, topic requests, or just to say hi. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you all next time.